All right, welcome to this training section where we are going to go ahead and talk about one of the first steps of getting everything set up for your scheduler, and that's going to be integrating your Google Calendar, which is going to be your central calendar. So we're going to go ahead and break this training up into three parts. Part one is going to be integrate, part two is going to be sync settings, and then part three is going to be testing the sync. Don't worry, super easy, super simple. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it right now. Let's go ahead and jump into part number one, which is going to be to integrate. Now, I do want to go ahead and remind you, it's going to be very important throughout this entire training that we go ahead and do is that you do want to make sure that you are using your Google Chrome profile. If you don't know what that is, if you didn't have that set up, make sure you go back and check out that training in which we went ahead and walked you through setting up your Google Chrome profile. And specifically, you want to make sure that you are using your work Google Chrome profile, right? So in this case, I went ahead and went with the @Gmail route. I got NutrifitWellnessTeam@gmail.com, and then that is located as work. Obviously, you're going to have other profiles for your personal. And then the cool thing is that you can actually go ahead and bookmark the ClientKit login so that just like that, boom, one click, you'll be able to go ahead and get into your business platform from there. Okay, so Google Chrome profile, make sure you have ClientKit bookmarks. It's going to be easy for you. What we're going to go ahead and do in order to set up this integration between your central calendar and your business platform is we're going to go over to settings at the bottom left. And then once we click on settings, from there, we're going to go ahead and go down over to integrations. Okay, so right over here, we're going to go down over here to integrations. Boom, just like that. And then once we click on integrations, we're going to go ahead and find the Google integration. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so that way we can see a little bit better here. Okay, so we're going to find the Google integration. Now, in this case, you'll see because this is a test account, I already have something here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and disconnect this very quickly so I can show you what this is going to look like probably on your screen. Okay, so it's going to look just like that. And then what you do is you click on sign in with Google, and it's going to show up a screen here. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and sign in to your actual Google account that is your business Google account. Okay, now for those of you who went with the @domainname.com option, this is probably going to be support@domainname.com. And then for those of you who went with the @Gmail route, that is going to be the @Gmail, that is your business @Gmail that you have, right? So over here you see we have Nutrifit Wellness, NutrifitWellnessTeam@gmail.com. I go ahead and click on that. From there, it's going to go ahead and say continue. And then from there, we go down and we click on allow. And then once we go ahead and click on that, it is going to go ahead and take a second to load. And then right here, we can just go ahead and click close. And just like that, you will see that now the Google account is actually integrated with the actual business platform ClientKit. Super simple, super easy, right? So now we're going to go ahead and proceed. We've now gone ahead and finished part one, which was integrating. We're now going to go ahead and go over to sync settings. So what sync settings is going to do is going to allow us to be able to specify exactly how the integration between Google Calendar and ClientKit is going to work. So we're going to go ahead and walk you through that right now. What we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and go over to calendars here inside of settings. Okay, so right over here, calendars. Okay, so we're here still under settings. We click on calendars. Now, alternatively, if you were on the main screen, another way that you could do that is you click on calendars here and then click calendar settings there, and that'll just take you to the exact same place, right? So again, same thing, potato, same way to be able to get to where it is that you're looking to get to, okay? From there, once you're under calendar settings, you're then gonna go ahead and click on connections here at the top. And then once you click on connections, you're gonna see that it gives you an option to have main integration calendar here, okay? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and right over here, we're gonna go ahead and select the main calendar, which is probably going to have one option on there. So it's going to be the NutrifitWellnessTeam@gmail.com. In your case, it's going to be whatever the calendar name, the main calendar name, right? So if I go over to calendar.google.com, you'll see here, Nutrifit Wellness is the name of this calendar. And so whatever that main calendar is going to be the one that you're going to integrate right there. Then right now, you don't have the way to do two-way sync right now, but we're going to leave that off. And then we're going to go ahead and click on save from there. Once that has actually saved, we are going to also go ahead and scroll down just a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that the calendar that we're checking for conflicts. So what's going to show up on here, and let me explain to you what this means. So this is going to be whenever ClientKit is looking to go ahead and book an appointment on your scheduler, it's going to look at these calendars to see if there is any conflicts with the timing that somebody is booking, right? So what you're going to notice is, I know it's a little bit hard to see here, but the gray on this calendar right over here is going to be a little bit lighter because this is automatically, since this is the main central calendar here, right? The main integration integration calendar, this is already blocked off, right? So if I go ahead and scroll in, if you zoom in a little bit, you'll see it's a little bit, it doesn't allow me to select because of the fact that it is a little bit lighter gray. That means that this is already by default checking for conflicts on this calendar, right? Now, of course, if I wanted to add birthdays or if I wanted to add holidays or something, you could do that. However, we are not going to do that. We would recommend you not do that. The only time that this would be beneficial is, let's say, for example, you did end up sharing a personal calendar, right? So let's say over here, you had a personal calendar. I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you an example here, right? So if I went over to here, I'm going to go to other calendars. I'm going to create a new calendar. And let's say I created a personal calendar here, right? And then I created a create calendar right there, just like that. And then let's say, for example, this personal calendar was shared right over here. You'll see that I have personal calendar, and then this personal calendar, let's say hypothetically, was shared with my personal Gmail, right? So that way I'm able to go ahead and use it on my personal Google Chrome profiles as well, right? So over here, it'd be logged in with my personal, so that way I have an integration there, right? Then what I would do is I would come over here. Let me zoom out so you can see. I would go ahead and refresh, and then hypothetically, this is not what you're going to do. I'm just kind of walking you through how you can think through this, right? What would happen is that you'd come down over here and you'll see, oh, we're going to not only look at it on NutriFit Wellness Team, but we're also going to look at it on the personal calendar, and I can turn that on as well. So that way it's going to check for conflict on the main integration calendar, which is already checked off. I know it doesn't look checked off, but it is checked off because I can't check it any longer. And then I'm also going to check for conflicts on my personal calendar. So that's just an example of how you would be able to go ahead and set it up. So that way the scheduler can look for conflicts there. Now, when you do something like that, it does allow you now to be able to turn on two-way sync. However, our recommendation would be not to turn on two-way sync. Do not turn this on, okay? And the reason we say that is because if you turn this on, what that's going to happen is that it's going to, every single event that you create here, let's say like lunch or gym or something, it's going to create an appointment inside of the system for a specific contact with lunch or gym or something like that. So you want to go ahead and leave this off. That's going to be very important. And then once you've gone ahead and done this, you've saved over here, if you have a personal calendar, you want to go ahead and turn that on over there. That's perfectly fine as well. However, again, our recommendation is probably just keep one calendar. So our recommendation probably not even to have a personal calendar, just keep everything on one calendar unless you know what it is that you are doing. Okay. So then that is going to be, we've talked about integrate, we talked about sync settings. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about testing the sync, because now that you have the sync set up, what's going to happen here is that if I go back over here and then I go over here to the calendars tab, okay, now we're going to have an entire training section that's going to walk you through what the entire calendars tab is and all the additional functionality for this, okay? But for right now, what I want to go ahead and walk you through is that what we're going to test, and you'll see on here, we actually have some of those previous events that we've already created. You'll see that we can't actually delete these events because these are Google Calendar events. And you'll see on here, it says Google Calendar. It gives us a kind of indication on here that is a Google Calendar event. So already we see that the sync is working in some way, but what we want to do is we want to go ahead and test it in a big way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Google Calendar, and I'm just going to go ahead and let's say I'm going to make an appointment here, and I'm going to just call this Client Kit Test from Google Calendar, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over to Client Kit, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And once I refresh, I'm going to go ahead and wait for a second to see if that appointment actually shows up here, right? So we booked it on the Thursday over here. So it might take maybe a minute or two. And what you got to do is you might have to go ahead and refresh the browser over here. And then boom, just like that. You see it took maybe a minute or so, but you'll see Client Kit Test from Google Calendar. So that does mean that the sync is working, and we've gone ahead and made it so that way any appointments that are created here on the actual central calendar are going to go ahead and show up on this calendar as well. Now, if that did not show up for you, you want to go back to the previous part when we talk about the sync settings and the integrations and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously reach out inside of the community so that way if somebody has already figured this out or they can help you, they can make sure that they are providing you that support via the community. Now, the other quick questions that we have on here are going to be, hey, what about integrations with other calendars? Now, ultimately, of course, this is what the system that we have that has worked. This is the system that we have tried that has worked. We know exactly what this looks like down the road and in the future. So this is the reason why we recommend Google Calendar as a central calendar, because it's one of the easiest, in our opinion, to go ahead and get set up. And that's exactly the system that we've used in our businesses, as well as all of the hundreds and thousands of students that we have taught over the years. This is the system that we've used. Okay, so again, totally up to you. However, Google Calendar is going to be our strong recommendation for this. Okay, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this step on integrating your Google Calendar with the Client Kit platform, and then as well as getting the sync settings right dialed in, as well as testing that sync. We're not done yet. We got a bunch of other steps in order to help you go ahead and get your scheduler set up. So with that being said, we will catch you in the next training section.